All right, everybody, we got another good one this week. We have Dewey from IAG, and we are super stoked to have him on. I don't know if anybody knows this, but
Yes.
Dewey is kind of one of the guys in the background of the Super Mechanics Facebook group that does help quite a bit. So
Yeah.
anybody who's in the group that if you ever see him pop in there, he is helping in the background a lot as well. We do appreciate everything that he does helping us because it is a shit show over there. But yeah, Dewey, we're happy to have you
Or
on.
rather, it would be even worse if it wasn't for people like Dewey and you
Yeah,
yourself and all the other admins.
It's just
Let's just say that. It
community
would be
stuff. Like,
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
trying to, like, I've been doing it a long time, so, like, sometimes it helps to, like, "Hey, how would you make this call?" You know what I mean?
yeah.
I honestly I don't have time to moderate anymore, but I can at least help you guys with some harder calls.
Yeah, like, there's just some things that pop up every day that I'm like, "I can't even, like, believe this is real,"
Can't
you
even
know? It's
do
just
it.
but, yeah, so, I mean, we thank you for that, it's been a huge help, and, yeah, I've been dying to do this. I feel like we've run into each other quite a bit. I remember my first year at Boxer Fest when we had our first booth there, I gave you one of our first T-shirts ever because I was like, "If anybody is leaving with one of our T-shirts today, it's you." So I was very happy to do that, and, yeah, now we're going back for our 3rd year, and, we're super stoked for it, so I'm
Hell
sure we're
yeah.
gonna see you there again, and,
Hopefully. It's
hopefully.
looking good.
Okay. I gotta say, Wicked Big, you guys had a crazy setup. I think that the trailer looks amazing when you guys roll in. It's like when I used to go to like Warp Tour and they had the Monster Energy truck and they gave away like free monsters. I feel like that's what it is. You roll up and you're like, what?
I gotta be
Like,
real, like, JJ is an absolute genius. But he is also extraordinarily good at finding incredible deals. And he nabbed that from an oil company, it was like Valvoline or Mobile One or something, that they were liquidating their whole setup that I think they were taking to like IndyCar or NASCAR or something like that. Dude,
yeah.
he got that trailer on a song. It
Oh man.
unreal how cheap he got that. But then we turned around and put a lot of work into it to get it to where it was, but it's I still can't believe what we paid for it, and it looks insane when we roll up with that thing and can roll it out. And what's really crazy is the guys that are at the office at IEG, they redo the entire inside of it when we go to Bronco shows and stuff like that for the off-road side of the company. They completely redo that trailer to the off-road side so it all goes green and everything. It's really
Oh my
wild, and
god.
they can change it back
Interesting.
and forth. It's insane.
Now,
That's
I'm
so
curious,
cool.
is it I would think it'd be counterintuitive to do something kind of similar. Immediately that what comes to mind is how the New York Giants and the New York Jets share the same stadium,
Yeah.
and everything's literally on like a flip billboard, almost like McDonald's breakfast. It's like, here's breakfast,
Some
here's
of it,
lunch.
yes.
And the,
It's not
okay,
far off of that, some of it, but yeah,
but they
we have,
adopt the
like,
same
totally
principle of
separate signage, but we use a lot of the same racks and stuff like that, and,
same mounting,
things
same
change a
things.
lot. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay.
It's crazy because I remember seeing your trailer and then Subaru's trailer, and I was like, "Oh my god, they're like the same thing." Like, like at this point, you guys are
Yeah.
rolling up and like making them look like, "Damn, we should have brought a bigger trailer."
It that is the first time we rolled that out, we got told that. They're like, "Your stuff is as big as Subaru's now," which is wild.
It's funny because like in terms of like when you go to each individual booth at like Wicked Big or whatever,
Mhm.
I feel like everybody's kinda got their own thing, like, you have the
Sure.
igloos when you first walk in, everybody's you got the guys who are rebuilding a car this year, which was really cool, and so I think it's just cool that you with yours, you kinda, like, walk up into it and you're like, "Whoa," like, you're on the
Yeah,
trailer, so
it's
it's kinda cool.
supposed to be an experience. Then this year I had no chance to hang out up in there and really talk to people. I was kind of
Yeah,
down near the race car and chat with people there. It just I That's where it needed me to be, so that's where I was at.
Yeah.
But normally it's a cool experience. You walk up in and you get to chat people up, and you got cool stuff on the screens, and like it's usually pretty cool. But that's the whole idea, is to kind of experience that, you're walking into the experience, which I always thought
Yeah.
was neat.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't get to catch you for too long. I was you were talking to a lot of people, and I just was like, you know
That
what,
was
let's just get
crazy.
you. I know. I was like, let's get him on the podcast and just kind of talk about it here. So, I kind of want to dive into your background and IAG and kind of just anybody who doesn't know, or just I feel like you're on so many podcasts now and everything, and people know who you are. But I think sometimes it's nice to recap how we got here.
Yeah,
So,
I got to
um,
be real. A lot of that gets lost a lot too. A lot of people think like my background is only racing, and it totally isn't.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about it. So, what led you to IAG? How'd you get into racing? Just a little bit of your background.
um, I mean, I don't want to go too far back, but I bought my first WRX in '02. So I'm a little older
Okay.
than people
Wow.
realize. I'm pretty OG Nasiak. I think my member number is like 37 and some change. So like it's 37,000 area.
Mhm.
So it's I came in with that first glut of '02 WRX people into Nasiak. So I'm old school forum nut. Um I kind of turned my hobby into a career right around 2010ish. That's when I started working for a shop in the Chicago area. Um, it's usual with the Chicago area shops, drama, yada yada yada. And me and one of the guys that worked there were over the drama and wanted to start a shop that wasn't drama, and that's where Six Star Motorsports came from. So Sammy
That's
and I
awesome.
started Six Star Motorsports in the Chicago area, and later I ended up leaving. Long story short, my wife got an incredible job down in Tennessee, and it kind of made sense for where we were at in our life. And so we ended up moving down to Tennessee, and I really wasn't going to be able to do the stuff I needed for Six Star Motorsports at that time. And IAG at that point was already my uh like basically my engine sponsor, and we were selling a lot of IAG engines, and we had a working relationship. And they offered me a job to work remote and do marketing and sales with them, and that worked out. So I'm sitting in my office that I'm in every day, talking to people on the phone right now in Western Tennessee. So
That's cool.
yeah, so that's kind of how I ended up at IAG. Six Star Motorsports continued on to do great things. Kind of Chris is up there running the front. Sammy still owns it, and they're slaying it. And they're one of our biggest shops in the country now. So it kept going really well. And IAG showing up to events with giant trailers and stuff. So things have been good.
Yeah. It's interesting how much business is in that Chicago area. I feel like
Chicago
there's
is nuts.
there's like pockets across the country where Subarus have like a stronghold, like
Yes.
Colorado, Chicago, obviously. There's parts of Northern California into Washington where like there's a ton of them, kind of up where like Smeedy is out of. And then like East Coast, I know that Rhode Island and where I'm from originally, there's a ton in that area. They just
Yeah.
have like these areas where they,
Massachusetts,
you know,
Connecticut,
It's
Connecticut.
basically,
up and
yeah, the whole
down.
New England area is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Boxerfest, I think
it's
out of
insane.
all the Subaru events, I mean, they get like 8,000 people. I think that's like the most out of any of the events, or maybe Wicked Big is the
Wicked
biggest.
Big
I'm
Meat
not sure.
slaughters it, but Boxer
How,
Fest is
yeah,
the second largest as far as I know.
yeah. I was kind of bummed when they created the rest of the events and they're all just called Subi Fest blank. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of cool when they had their own thing, and now they're just like,
Yep. They kind of had their own identity. I agree with that. I've got my own opinions on some of those. Like I think some of those events maybe could veer off the typical format and probably do better, but what do I know? I'm just a sales guy. I'm talking to you, Robert Champion. I'm looking right at you, and we've had this conversation. I think they should move. I think I've had this conversation with them multiple times. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I truly believe that Grid Life is really big on doing separate events, like using their crew to officiate an event. And what they should do is the Subi events people and Grid Life should run a big shindig at Gingerman instead of doing Subi Fest Midwest, which I got to be real is like kind of a meh event. It's you should go if you're in the area by all means, but it's not Wicked Big Meat. but
Mhm.
it absolutely could be if you put the right attraction there. Make it a 2-day thing where people camp out, like, it would be nuts, and then you bring all the crazy time attackers from all over the country. It would be the perfect spot to put it. That's my 2 cents,
Yeah.
but nobody's gonna listen to me because 'cause I'm just a sales
That's
guy.
awesome. I think that's a great idea. You know,
People would
we've
go to
been
that.
having conversations about this stuff about like, what grid life does so well and like, how these companies are adapting and learning that like you got to make things a little more exciting to draw the crowd and then you get these other companies involved and boom, you have a product, Like, it's not every large company that puts events on, they don't always have to just like copy and paste everything. And I think what's kind of cool is like you look at a company, I know it's a little unrelated, but you look at like Nitro Circus, right? Like Nitro Circus has figured out the perfect formula. They go wherever they need to, they set up different things every time, they make it exciting for everybody who goes. And they'll do it anywhere. They'll do it as part of another event. They team up with people. And I think that like the Subi events need to be a little bit more flexible, like you're saying, in terms of like who they can team up with and kind of making it a little,
Just I think they should try some stuff, especially when
Yeah.
one of their, Subaru of America is a massive sponsor of theirs, and
Mhm.
Vermont Sports Car would love a better way to show, their cars doing something that isn't just kind of just sliding around in an autocross course. Like let's do something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents. Again, we could go way
My
down the rabbit hole on that. But
yeah.
I
Oh,
also
sure.
believe there's
My one
venues
quick
around the
question.
country, like Kansas is a great example, Heartland, which just reopened, that has
Mhm.
a great road course, a great drag strip, and plenty of space to hold a whole Subi event thing, and it's dead center of the country.
That's a great
Yeah.
spot. I
What
mean,
do I know?
yeah,
Yeah.
I know you don't want to go too far down this road. I know it's like
Just
it's
stay
so
here all
hard.
day. We'll just do
Yeah,
3 parts to this podcast. I don't care.
yeah. All right. Um, so okay, so I kind of want to reel back. So how did you kind of once you got into IAG, how did that morph into you racing? Because
So,
um,
it's
yeah.
actually the other way around, okay? So, I
Mhm,
started racing when I was at Six Star. In fact, I actually started racing there was a period there where I was working for a company called TH Motorsports.
mhm,
Um, I mean, we can go into how that was or wasn't, but long story short, TH is the reason I ended up at Grid Life at all. They happened to be sponsoring Grid Life while I was working there, and they're like, "Oh, you got to come out to this event." I'm like, "Man, I don't know." They finally like talked me into it, and me and my tuner Graham, boosted performance tuning, Graham was like, "Oh, dude, we should go. We'll just co-drive your car. I'll tune the car on E super soft." And we stole my wife's '05 STI and we went there and ran the whole weekend, had a great time. And we
that's
were both
awesome.
like, "Why are we drag racing? This is stupid. Let's just do this." But I got in entirely. I wasn't planning on going at all. TH Motorsports was the reason I ended up at Grid Life Midwest. They were like, "Go to this track day." And it happened to be Grid Life Midwest. And it was insane. And we had a great time. And we went to the rest of the
Yeah.
events for the rest of the year. And then the next year is when I started racing again, still working for TH Motorsports and driving that '05 STI. So when I went back to Six Star, I came back going, I want to continue to do Grid Life. And I think it's good for marketing anyway. Let's do this. And then Boogeyman 1.0, which is like 2019, they found a tumor in my head. It's a long story, but basically they found a tumor in my head. When they removed that, I was like, if I survive this surgery, I'm going all in on time attack. And so I did. And I went all in, and Six Stars supported the living hell out of me. Sammy and Chach, like nonstop for 2 months straight, no sleep, no nothing, no days off. We lived at the shop to get this car together to make Grid Life Midwest. And that was Boogeyman 1.0. That was back in 2019. That was all at Six Star Motorsports. Now, when this transition was happening for me going from Six Star to IAG, that was basically 21 into 22.
Okay.
Okay. And when I went to one of the things, the conversations when I went to IAG was, I want to continue to race. It's really important to me. And they were willing to support that. And that
That's
was a
awesome.
part of the agreement coming into that. It wasn't convince IAG after I was there to go racing or something like that. It existed already. Now, I got to be real, it had a lot of issues. Okay. Like that program was rough. We were catching on fire almost every other session. Like the car was just in a constant state of shambles and being broke. A lot of sins were committed when building the car that quickly. Long story short, what really made it work was in 2023, they hired a guy named Dylan, who basically came there to race. His whole thing was he wanted to go racing. He wanted to be on that side. And I needed somebody who wanted it as bad as I did. And Dylan was that guy. So when Dylan got thrown into the mix of this, he threw his entire soul into this. So really it's a two-man show. It's him and I. He got the car to where it needed to be so I could worry about driving. I
That's
just
awesome.
what was happening is every time I came off the track, it was just a mad dash to try to make the next session and just hold the car together. And Dylan took a lot of that weight off of me. And the second that left, I could concentrate on driving. It's funny. He tells the story. He's like the second event, you managed to decompress so much that you pointed something really crazy out. I was like, hey man, like my feet keep slipping off the pedals. And he's like, yeah, we could probably fix that. And we threw this like grip tape on the pedals, and I immediately found a full second just because I had confidence in hitting the pedals. But I was so
Yeah.
worried about just getting myself strapped in the car so I could go back out that I never had a chance to really like think about these things or look at data
Yeah.
or do the small stuff that matters.
Yeah, you were
Watch
always
video.
worried about what you fixed last night. Is it gonna,
It ain't even
be a
last
problem
night.
again
It's
today?
10 minutes ago. Like, I'm dude, I'm
Or
telling
that.
you, we would
Same
come off
thing.
track in the car because
Yeah.
we kept popping these up pipe gaskets. It was the worst. And we would melt an axle, we would melt tie rod ends, the car would catch on fire.
Sure.
Like, dude, it was
Yeah.
and there was nothing we could do to keep. We tried a million different things, but that was probably the bane of my
God.
existence was that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Wow. I mean, to come from that to now be at peace with, like, you get in the car and you know things are good, I feel like
Well,
that's a heavy
it's
weight off.
crazy. We went from being one of the most like one of the most unreliable cars on the grid. Like we wouldn't
Mhm.
get in people's way, but the car would come off in shambles every time.
Mhm.
To
And that's frustrating. Just
oh, it's dude, it's the worst because I'm
top
sitting
ends.
here going in 22. I had a conversation with, I'm not going to mention who it was, but it was somebody who I respect a lot. Right after I had, I think, the worst loss of my entire career. It still haunts my dreams. I was at Mid Ohio. I was winning the event. This is what was going to save my season. And Jackie Ding, he was in New Jersey. I'm in Mid Ohio. He leaves the New Jersey event early because he's so far ahead it didn't matter. Drives all the way to Mid Ohio, shows up in the morning and beats me by a full second. And it was the
My
most
God.
soul-crushing defeat of my entire life. Okay? And I have to go back with another second place trophy. And this person basically says, I don't even know why you're trying to compete with these modern cars. You don't stand a chance. You need to give up. And
Come on.
and that lit this fire in my soul so hard because what I ended up doing is then do the math. How much faster do I actually have to go to beat this person? And
Yep.
what I found out is it's only 2%. It was only 2% faster, which is a lot if you really think about it. 1% of that came from me entirely. I need to become a better driver, but I can't be a better driver if I'm constantly working on the car. So we need to find more reliability and 1% more speed. And we ended up finding that like we went like 3.25% faster the next season once Dylan came on.
You know, something that's been amazing to watch is that every time I open my phone, it's a picture of you on top of a podium or on top of a poster or in first place winning. And so, I mean, that just speaks to the fact that you
But
guys found it. You
that's
know,
what
it's
I
like,
wanted to get to is we went from one of the most unreliable time attack cars on the grid
mhm.
to now what most people are calling the most reliable time attack car in the grid. We
It's
Yeah.
it
crazy.
it it
Oh my
it a
god.
lot went into making that happen and finding that recipe. A shitload of engines, a lot of heartache, a lot of weird things breaking, but one of the things I really wanna push is we run and I run what I race. Like, what I race is what I sell. So when you hear me out there giving advice, it's because I probably already broke the damn thing, and I'm telling this from you from firsthand experience. It will break, and
Yeah.
this is how you fix it. But it
Yeah.
can be done, and it can be done really successfully if you do it the right
Yes.
way. And we're an open book. Anything that we've learned, we are more than happy to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Something that comes to mind is I was watching a mini, little short documentary about Jeep and how they got, their original founding. And there's I'm sure you probably guys are aware if you aren't, but they the Germans actually captured a Jeep and they took it apart and they disassembled it and they did this whole thing and they expected it to kind of, turn their nose at it and be like, huh, this thing is crude. It's, how is
Yeah.
this thing still on the road? And then they quickly realize they're like, wait a minute, this might be the reason we lose the war because they can produce these things at a rate is un unfathomed. We're all about quality, we're about precision. It takes us 1,000 man hours to build one of our, German
Yeah,
Range
they're
Rover versions or whatever,
yep.
And it's like, no, this all of a sudden, wait a minute, they just pumped out 10,000 Jeeps. That's why they'll leave them on the side of the road when they break, and they have another one in the backup. And guess what? They also all interchange parts. That's another thing, you talked about. Is so interchangeability is really key. Subaru, luckily, is really, really akin to that. Like we all know that as Subaru enthusiasts, you can. There's an old saying in Subaru community. They're like Legos. You can literally interchange anything you want, and it'll fit. Now
It's
It is.
one of the
eh,
things it
yeah,
absolutely drives the rules, guys, in grid life up
yes,
the wall because we literally have 30 years of aftermarket that we can play with and all these
hmm
weird models and like strange front bumpers and goofy arrow things and like we got somebody complained that our radio didn't work, right? In Boogie. And I was like, okay, that's how we're gonna play. And my car, the Boogeyman, is a 1995 Impreza L. I'm like, I could option this without a radio. I went and got the factory radio delete and popped it in. I'm like, there you go. You asked for it. It's even lighter than what you were complaining about.
My
I don't even
god.
have to have a passenger mirror.
That's amazing. It's really like I love the fact that you are going so hard in this car, and all it's doing is making better aftermarket products because they're
Yes.
just finding out how far you can push these things until they explode.
And
It's like,
that's the best part of it. And like the whole thing, and the reason I stayed with Street Mod, and the reason I is it's still relatable. When you look at Boogie, it's
Mm.
still a GC. When you look at a lot of these unlimited time attack cars, you're gonna have a hard time figuring out what it is. But a street mod car, when you think of time attack in your brain, most of us go to what like a 2010s unlimited car looks like, which is kind of what Boogie looks like now.
mm,
It's you got a wing, you got a splitter, but the car is pretty much there. It's not insane,
But it
crazy
took a
aero, and
while
the
to
whole
get
front
there, of
end
course.
reshaped, and
Yeah, it took a
yeah.
while to get there, of course, though. It never started, as just everything you see, and that's the lineage of any one of these, I guess, for lack of a better term, I think we can all take appreciation in their projects.
mhm,
At the end of the day, they're projects. Like
that's all
let's
time
not
attack
beat around the
is.
bush.
Time
It's a
if you are
project.
ever finished with a time attack car, you're done with time attack. It's there's no such thing as being done. If you're
Wow,
not constantly developing, you are falling behind. Like I've
very
got
well said.
10 different things in my brain right now that we're doing for the very next event, including working with Garrett on a brand new turbo.
That's awesome. Now, I that leads me into, I was gonna ask you, from your racing, is there any products that you have helped directly improve?
Absolutely. Like we can go straight to it. If you go to IAG's website right now and you see the 2 3D stroker, that is entirely due to Boogie. Okay. And we
I had a
learned a
feeling.
lot from the failures, and even the not the you learn a lot from a failure, but you actually learn more with an engine if you can catch it before it dies. And we've learned a lot from Boogie on how to do small things. When you start adding small things up, they make a big difference, and it's just little changes, stuff that like you'd have to be in the machine shop to really see, but we're talking extraordinarily small changes that have added up to a better engine that you can buy right off the shelf from us, which is insane. And again, the 2 3D stroker is a perfect example of that. Like, we kind of got rid of the 2-liter program because there's no reason for it to exist now with the 2.3 being there.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
Without
that's
failure, you don't learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's just the truth, though. Like, you learn so much more from your defeats and your losses and your failures than you do from winning.
No,
And especially
that's
when you're
the
willing to innovate and try stuff, and all of a sudden it doesn't work out. You're like, well,
There's not a
back to the
single
drawing
thing
board.
when something fails on Boogie, especially after 2023, when anything failed on Boogie, we found the root cause of how it failed, and we improved upon it in some way.
that's cool.
You have to.
Yeah. Now, is there anything exciting that we can expect coming from IAG in the future that is public knowledge? So-
What I can say is the future is bright. Okay. We have new and interesting stuff, and we're not innovating on older things. Okay. There's stuff we're testing on Boogie right now I'm not allowed to talk about. Okay, but it's exciting stuff that'll affect everybody. There's the FA platform, especially the FA24 platform. New STI stuff coming. We're gonna be right on the bleeding edge of that. We actually are working on something really cool for the GR86 BRZ, like FA24 also. We have some cool stuff planned for that, but that's taken a little longer than we were hoping, because I don't want to say we bit off more than we could chew. We only have so many hours in a day, so we're doing our best, but there is stuff coming.
Now, I'm going to jump
Good to
ahead
hear.
because you mentioned the FA platform. A question I had for you later is, do you think that the VB platform has lived up to its expectations? Because I don't think it has.
No, the
And-
VB here, like, we're gonna get into a deeper thought here. Okay, the Subaru that exists right now, especially in the past like year and a half, is not the Subaru that existed 5 years ago. We're talking to a completely different company now. You could really tell that at Wicked Big Meat in the conversations that I was having with those people. Okay, we're not talking to the same company. The company of 5 years ago is where that VB came from, which is, well, we got to give those enthusiasts something or they're going to shred us on the internet. And that's what the VB is, which is a damn shame, because that chassis was put together, the car itself was put together by people who cared, but then it's like they never finished it. And you can tell because there is all of the mounting points and everything for the STI 6-speed, like where the rear bushing goes for the linkage. The holes are there and threaded
It's
already.
almost like it's neutered, right? It's almost like it's been neutered.
Ready to be an STI, and they even tested it. Okay. And then they went, eh. And some of it probably came down through Toyota. I'm of the belief that the GR Corolla and the GR Yaris are the reason we didn't get an STI. But even then, like, the car, they immediately did not listen to feedback. Like, how can you put that thing out there? Everybody go, what the hell are those fenders? And you guys not sell a factory option to fix that.
So I was going to ask you, because something that I got, first off, Dave and I put out a reel a couple weeks ago where we were having a conversation about an article that came out saying that Subaru dropped the price of the VBs $5,000 and immediately their sales go up 50%. That like took off, and like basically we've been reading a bunch of the comments on that, and people are just upset. People are just clearly like, why would I want to spend like high-end car money, Supra style money on a WRX that is unfinished, that is not what I wanted? And then what's interesting to me is that you go to Wicked Big Meat and they have Scott Speed doing drive-alongs in a VB TS, and you're kind of like, it's a great ride, but like, exactly.
If you're towing the corporate line, no offense to Scott Speed, no, Subaru's got to show off what they have and what's current. They can't stick somebody. Scott Speed would rather be driving the '05 STI that he had Six Star Motorsports build for him than that.
True.
Okay.
True.
It's the truth, but that's what they're putting people in, you know, because it's what they're selling. But I can tell you right now, what we're going to get here soon is going to make the VB pointless.
Yeah. And I think that it's a shame because I feel like the point of Subaru, right? There's a big aftermarket and there's a
Mhm.
lot of people that like to build these cars. So having a WRX is not the worst thing. People like to build up
No,
from what they have. I think the problem is that normally we start with more. And not just that is like,
even say we had a whole conversation on our own podcast that was the VB WRX hurt because there wasn't an STI. And I agree, I believe that also. But the problem is to make a VB WRX kind of what you wanted to be, the big holdback, and people won't agree with me on this, and I'm sorry, you're wrong, is that you needed an STI 6-speed. You needed 3 diffs. Okay. Nice short gearing, 3 diffs. The chassis itself is really good, but it's really let down by the fact it's got an open front diff, open rear diff, and kind of a joke of a center. Okay. And the gearing isn't great.
Agreed.
That was the thing that really hurt it. If you would have you didn't even have a platform to really start from. You had to immediately do that because
yeah,
it would instantly make more torque than that trans could hold. And
Yeah.
it isn't like
yep,
people were breaking them all over the place, but they were worried about it. That engine's great, you
yeah,
know, but it's always in the back of your brain. This is going to die. So you've got to do a 6-speed swap right away. And then immediately, it's just
Yeah.
another massive hurdle that you're going to have to find a way to add more fueling.
yeah. It's kind of like what I would say is that initial, like, let's say you bought an FA20, WRX. Immediately you put Brembos on it to make it more like an STI. Well, now you got to go to bigger wheels. Well, now any kind
Sure,
of
but that's like those are kind of small hurdles to move up, you know what I mean? And
yes.
one of the cool
Yeah.
things about an STI existing is the VA WRX kind of had something to aspire to in a way, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I can get an STI wing, I can get some STI wheels, I can get some STI brakes, you know? And like you kind of can't do that with a VB.
Yeah.
And like there wasn't that big brother to look up to with that car.
Yeah.
And
And I
it took
think that
some of the wind out of its sails, I think.
there's such a bright future
Mm,
now. And I think
agreed.
that by them doing all these releases and showing all of these things they're working on, all these cool projects, I feel like it just must make people who bought a VB just because there was nothing else, maybe kind of feel like, damn, like,
Maybe, but I
you
gotta
know,
be real. I think the majority of what they do with whatever this new thing is gonna transfer over. Okay.
yeah,
And I
that's
think
true.
the VB, for all the shit that we have talked, I love our shop VB. I love it. We've got a small turbo upgrade on it. It's still on the stock trans, but you paint the stupid plastic cladding, lower it a little bit, throw some nice wheels on it. The car looks fantastic. The interior's nice. It's big. It gets decent gas mileage. It drives around awesome. It's a great car. It's an incredible daily. And I think if you have it's gonna take some stuff trickling down for people to go, maybe the VB wasn't so bad. I could see the VB being one of those things that maybe catches on after its life cycle. Like, I gotta
You
be
know,
real. Nobody even, this probably is like an extreme example of this, but nobody gave 2 shits about a Toyota Supra until it was out of production in the United States and showed up in the Fast and the Furious.
yep. Yeah. And
I just hope Subaru still adopts a um like we were saying earlier, a Lego-esque,
It ain't going away.
philosophy in certain capacity.
And I think
The
it's actually
the only
getting
reason
better.
I say that is is what we're seeing with just modern cars in general is more electronics and more integration. And all of a sudden now to swap a transmission, you have to swap a whole new wiring harness, which may not be the end of the world, but
It's
buy a
pain
new
in the
wiring
ass.
harness. Yeah, it's a pain in the
Subaru,
ass.
though, is
And computers and other things and security modules and eyesight. Like these are the things that
Subaru is
I worry about as a
heavily,
mechanic.
heavily committed to making manual transmissions. And I don't know if you guys saw the news recently. They're also shoving TY85s and WRXs. So that's the
I did see
STI
that.
based
Yep.
trans.
Yep.
Okay. If what I think is going to happen is Subaru is going to take the right path here and go, yeah, maybe our manual transmission for our all-wheel drive cars isn't the greatest option, and everything's going to go TY85. So then they're on one platform and it's easy. So maybe you won't have to do the trans swap, or you're just going to get the STI version with DCD and the diff. I think they should have did that forever ago, personally.
Yeah.
So what
Agreed.
factors do you think led to where we're at? What, like, you know, they have Travis, they have Bucky, they have all these big names who are probably telling them exactly what they want in these cars. You have like an entire aftermarket.
I'm not trying to say anything against Travis, Bucky, or any of these guys. Okay, they're great dudes. Like, I hung out with Bucky all last year. Okay, they've only got so much sway as far as that goes. You know what's actually making this happen? They watch podcasts like this. Okay, they watch our podcast for sure. They watch Flat Irons Tuning. They watch you guys. They watch these podcasts and they see us screaming at them. And I got to be real. The cafe standard stuff chilling out a little bit. EV's going, this ain't the future. Okay. And they the top brass are having issues moving the lesbo wagons. Okay. and the like enthusiasts are now taking over.
I'm kidding.
I am astounded to see the president of Subaru of America was doing autocross at Wicked Big Me.
I know.
That's the difference. We have enthusiasts steering the boat now. They care. And you want to know where a lot of this catalyst comes from? Toyota. Subaru saw themselves turning into Toyota in 2010, which was the most boring car company on the planet. They were terrified of it. And they're like, we're on our way to that. And they were. And they're trying to right the ship before it happens. And look how much Toyota is an exciting brand now. And they were not 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's also this weird shift happening where you have the CEO of Toyota who is out there driving. You know, we were at Snowdrift. We saw the CEO of GoPro driving a rally car. You know, like these companies, I feel like are getting more invested in this. And I feel like it's cool to see that because now they're getting the enthusiast view of like, they're in the pits hearing what people are complaining about, what they're talking about and what their needs are. And so, you know, when I mentioned Travis and Bucky and them, I'm not saying that they are trying to move the needle. What I'm saying is, why are they not asking them? Because they know that they are true enthusiasts. And
I'm sure,
you know,
to a point they are, especially like, and this is nothing against any of the rest of them. Scott Speed, definitely a Subaru enthusiast, didn't realize how much he was. Bucky really is a Subaru enthusiast.
Yeah.
But that's one voice. Okay. So if you hear it from one person, even though they might have a massive social media following or they're a celebrity of whatever, when you have you know, again, this podcast is going to reach a lot of people and then they're going to read the comments that are under this. You know, this will probably turn into a reel and then they're going to read the comments under that. You know, one of my biggest reels on my Instagram is me saying the BRZ doesn't need any extra power. I guarantee they read that.
Yeah.
I've said that.
Well, our biggest reel is Dave talking about filling his Baja with canola oil. So I hope they don't read that. You know, it's
the biggest one we're hoping is Blackstone does not follow the podcast because we're going to send the oil analysis after after 3,000 miles. And we're not going to say anything. Yeah. We're not going to say anything to Blackstone. We're going to say the year, make, miles, everything. That's it, and nothing more. And just see what they say.
I'm so hyped about it.
This is fine.
Yeah. You know, my last thing I wanted to mention before we move on is that the one comment I get the most is people talking about how the VA platform was so big, right? It's such a big car and how it was such a change from the years before where they made these small, lightweight cars with a lot of power. And I've always had the thought process that—
Are we talking about the VB or the VA?
The VA.
I don't agree with you.
Well, I'm just saying that that's the comments I get is people saying how big it is and how—
The GR was big, okay?
Yeah.
And if you put a GR right next to a VA, size-wise, they're not much different. The VB is a porker, okay? And the jump from GD to GR was pretty large. That was a very sizable jump, and they maintain that. But that's because you have, you know, magazines and, you know, fat Americans going, man, I don't know if I could fit into an SGR, you know. But just the other day, me and the wife were driving around the Bug-Eye, and she's like, "This car is just the right size." And she's
Yeah.
like, she's holding my hand while we're driving and stuff we used to do back in the day. I love my Bug-Eye, by the way. My new Bug-Eye, I'm so in love with. But the car is like physically the right size. Now, there's a lot of reasons they can't do that. If you haven't watched the Flatiron's tuning breakdown on how cafe standards work, long story short, Subaru to not get nailed really hard with a bunch of fines for cafe standards.
Mhm.
And this is all companies, but Subaru is really bad because the gas mileage of an all-wheel drive car really isn't great. They had to make the cars physically larger. It actually has to do with their wheelbase, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, a part of it I thought was because, they have to meet safety standards, so they had to make the cars a little
That's what
bigger,
we were told.
but
I'm telling you, it actually breaks down right down to they have to make larger wheelbase vehicles. It's why small vehicles are
Believe you.
basically dead in the United States.
now now
I
my thought
believe it too.
process was also that when the VA platform became a thing in 2015, that was when the Evo had disappeared. And I think that Subaru saw the potential to steal that customer base as well. So they made a car a little bit more akin to what an Evo is, versus what the GR
I don't know
platform
about that.
was. Yeah,
So,
I mean, they had to go somewhere, right? You have all these Evo kids that
real
had to.
one thing that Subaru did is they based everything off of one platform. It used to be two platforms. Okay.
Mhm,
Smaller platforms. So a Forester and Preza were based on the same thing. Okay.
mhm,
Large platform was Legacy, Baja, Outback. Okay. That's how things were. They even built the Ascent off that. That was its own thing, right? The BRZ is its own stuff. So we won't get into that. But there was always two platforms. All right. And then they
mhm.
went to one
Don't talk
platform.
about the Tribeca.
I mean, the Tribeca was legacy based, though.
I know, but those were terrible.
It was terrible, but it was still legacy based.
Yeah.
Long story short, it went to a single platform, so it was gonna grow no matter what because it had to encompass all of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reality of it is the Evo was dead when the VA started. They knew it was dead. It was DOA. Like the last year the Evo was 2015. Okay. So the influence of the Evo on Subaru kind of was already gone. That's why the VA went way up market with its interior quality and everything else because they were going to have to fight with like BMWs and stuff.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's true.
who else were they gonna go to war with? So they're trying to fight with an Audi. It's if you have
Cra
the difference in interior quality between a GR and a VA is massive. It's not even close.
Now, I have to ask, have you heard the whispers of the Evo coming back?
Yeah, but I don't know if Mitsu is really Mitsu needs to do something or they're going under.
I can't
I
believe
don't
they
see
still
Mitsu existing in
I
the United
agree.
States here in the next few years.
I can't believe there's a
Have you
new
heard-
dealer in my town.
A
It's
new
Have you
Mitsu
heard there's
dealer?
a thing about yeah. Have you heard this though about how Mitsubishi apparently when you sign a dealership agreement, unlike any other company with Ford or whoever, Subaru, you can now sell whoever on your lot, basically.
They have to.
Yeah.
That's the only way they can give these dealerships incentive
Yeah.
to say, I'm a Mitsubishi dealership,
Well, no,
and then I'm going to sell a bunch of crap, basically.
I want
or
you
other
to answer
cars.
one question for me. What is one thing Mitsubishi makes that three other companies don't make a better product for the same price right now?
I love me an Outlander. Come
Well,
on, man. That's the
I was
best
gonna
vehicle.
I was gonna say that the Outlander comes with Rockford Fosky audio, in case you didn't know. So yeah, yeah. S
Bring it on.
There's
You know
there's no value proposition to going to a Mitsu dealer right now. Now,
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Now
You're right. It's because you
play
buy
devil's
something else.
advocate
You
and
buy an
help
F-150 on their lot.
let's help the enemy out here. What would be the best thing to happen? It honestly would be they put an exciting car that enthusiasts like us would want to go maybe cross shop from a Subaru and put some enthusiasm back in their brand.
Yep.
That brand needs a win
It would be
so
interesting.
bad right now.
Yeah. And it's crazy, like I was saying, in my town, they opened a new dealer. And
It's
I was on the
crazy.
phone with the guy in the parts department. And I was like, how is this possible? I like, can't even fathom, And he's like, we sell Mirages, we sell some Outlanders. But he's like, to be honest, he's like, I just sit here all day and like I sell like 5 parts a day. He's like, there's like nobody buying Mitsubishi parts. And I was like, I was like, I can't even believe you guys can open. Like, who bought this place? Who
Yeah.
invested in this?
Where
Like, I
is the
can't.
money coming from?
Who pays for the lights to be
Somebody
on?
was
Who
like,
pays for the lights?
Somebody was like, I have millions of dollars to open a dealership. Which one do I pick? Mitsu. It's like, what?
It's probably a tax
Maybe
write-off for
it's a
some other
front.
large dealership.
It's a front. It's a front. It's
It's
got to
a
be a
front,
front
man.
somehow.
Yeah.
That's what
You know?
3/4 of the carpet
They're
stores
selling
out there are.
Kias out the back.
Yep. All of those mattress stores, you know how you see them that like nobody's ever there? Dude, that's all tax write-off.
Yeah, with every car sale,
Uh-huh.
you get a palm reading. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like, it's like, oh my god. Well, I kind of want to jump because I have a topic I really want to dive into
Yeah,
here.
dude, I'm down.
Something that Dave and I dove into last week was we were talking a little bit about how these companies are interacting with aftermarket companies and how, companies like Subaru used to go and rally and do exactly what you guys are doing. They used to test cars on the track and use that in the data to build what they're building, right? In some form, shape, whatever, they still do that. But I think that it's kind of reversed because now they have to be so focused on the EPA and on customers and what they want. And they're not, I feel like it's gone to more of a 50-50 than like, hey, we're building the best rally car we can, and then now we have to meet homologation standards and we have to make some for the public, and then the public loves those cars. And then that tells them what people want and what sells, and it builds.
You just nailed that, but that's what we're going to get to.
So, my question is, right, you look at these companies that have become trusted by larger manufacturers, right? Ford trust so deeply in like companies that don't even make sense, really. Roush makes sense. They're in-house. They get a lot of the data from Ford. They use the Ford wind tunnels in Michigan,
Sure.
One of I know people that work there that their whole job is they rip Ferraris apart in their shop and they figure out how things work. And then they put it into Roush and into Mustangs and into all of this work.
Shelby's up there.
You look at Shelby America, I've been to their factory. I see what they do. They still work with
amazing.
companies like Hertz to make a Hertz edition of a Mustang in Shelby.
Mhm.
It's like crazy. Saline is the craziest because it's like the biggest scam artist job ever. And they still trust them with things, which is like also mind blowing. So, I think that like in terms of like what Ford does, they get really personal and they share a lot of things with people and they want them to create products for their company. And in turn, they get some of that data back.
It's not even just data. It's just brand and excitement.
That too, why do we have to take the risk on making something exciting when they could take the risk and like we still get benefit from that?
Sure.
I think that like
This is
Subaru
why
sees a lot of
racing works.
yeah, I mean, you look at a flagship vehicle, Subaru sees the WRX as a flagship vehicle that isn't a big money winner, but they know it builds excitement and people want them. So I feel that they've kind of picked very specific companies that they work with, but they don't really have like VSC is like the one company that they're sharing a lot with, but I feel like it's still not even that
It's
deep.
not even. It's actually the opposite. Okay. They aren't sharing much with VSC. VSC is sharing with them, and now that relationship has opened up a lot more.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tidbits of information that have been thrown out there recently, but long story short, especially with Travis's new car, the more production based one, they're learning a lot from that. And then on the flip side of that, and when I say they, I'm meaning Subaru is learning from Vermont Sports Car.
Yeah.
Like Subaru is flipping a massive portion of that bill. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other way around, you have Subaru themselves, either through STI or whatever, the Nürburgring program, the Super TACU program. They're learning a lot from those too, using those as test beds for new FA24 stuff, the new STI, all of that. Like you have to understand that Subaru is only so large too. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that really hurt Subaru is the WRC basically wrote them out of the rules. They didn't quit rally because they didn't want to do rally. They quit rally because WRC basically mandated an inline four. And they weren't going to design a whole new engine program for it. And there's even lots of conversation of the FIA realizing how much they screwed up because literally nobody cares about the WRC outside of like some niche European countries right now. that they're trying to tweak the rules so they can get Subaru back, okay, and some other manufacturers back. But with that stated, you really nailed it on the head, and why in the 90s and the 2000s we got really excited about these things, and it was homologation rules. And I want to see that come back. I want to see that come back across the board. I want to
Yeah.
see NASCAR driving like Mustangs and Camaros and
Yes.
Chargers that aren't too far off of production vehicles, forcing them to make better stuff. But then I want to see production rally where you got to keep most of your suspension pickup points, and the car has to be a certain way. The one of the things that
Preach,
has screwed a
Dewey.
lot of this though is
Preach.
I'm gonna step back and hop off my high horse. Cat face standards screwed a lot of these companies from making cars the shapes they wanted to. Okay, we can't have
Yes.
small cars anymore.
Yeah.
We have to have these enormous SUV sized WRXs, which doesn't make any effing sense. Seriously, go sit in a damn bug out. It'll blow your mind how small it is. We used to think that was a big car.
Yeah.
And like
Anyone
but
who drives a
we
Mini
had
Cooper will
homologation rules
feel
again with homologation
the car.
series that people gave a shit about. You would start seeing things like but people have to care, and the problem is it takes a while to get that stuff spun up.
I want to
Mhm.
see cars the size of a Focus ST again.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
the RS was like, not the best car ever, but it was great for what it was.
Perfect
And
sizing. No,
Yeah.
I don't want to take it in. I want to see that again. But one of the only reasons they were able to do that is because Ford made a shitload of giant trucks. Okay. Now, because it works on like
it's all
an average.
percentages, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And Subaru doesn't have that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so Ford got away with it. And then I think, and don't quote me on this, there was like, they got rid of the exception for trucks. And that's one of the reasons Ford got rid of almost all their cars.
Yep. They got rid of everything.
And
the
it was a
Fusion,
cafe
all that
standard
stuff.
problem.
Yep.
I didn't realize how much of an effect this had until literally a couple weeks ago. So if it seems like I keep harping on this, it's because it is the stupidest set of rules ever put into place. I
Yeah.
swear. And
I agree.
I'm not left, I'm not right. It's just this is not common sense whatsoever. And the people who write these rules have never set foot in a car. I swear to God.
Yeah.
This is
'Cause,
not
like-
good for not only the industry, or rather industry in general, yet alone automotive, but it's inconducive or to the larger spectrum of how we think about things. How are we building things? I mean, I think
Let's
everyone
look at
here
this on a super
is a big
simple
career.
level
Yeah.
here. City congestion. All of these cars are freaking massive now. If they were literally 20% smaller, we would have less traffic. It's not freaking brain science.
Have you seen the new Hummer, crawl mode where the wheels turn sideways?
Yeah.
And in parallel.
Yeah.
Why does that need to be a thing? Because you're so big that you can't.
Well, when a freaking Impreza-based vehicle is the size of your Explorer from the 2000s, what sense does that make?
It's crazy to me that this
You
is the
feel
road
safe.
that we've gone down because like realistically exactly what you're saying, right? Like there's so much traffic. There are no new roads, right? Like every once in a while they build a new road, but like
Yeah.
there are new people every day. Not enough roads. So like realistically, we're going to end up being like China where everybody's on a scooter because literally there's no car small enough to drive where it makes sense unless you're going to buy a Fiat, and this is what's crazy is my prediction is that the importing is about to get insane because people are going to start importing small cars.
I agree with you, except there is if all across all markets, because the US market share is so big, we've affected everything. We
Yeah,
are
it's true.
steering the ship now. And this is also going back to the whole Subaru thing. Subaru in the past, it was Subaru Japan, they do what they want, and then we get leftovers, right?
Yeah.
Subaru has also come to the realization, one of the big reasons we have an enthusiast put in charge over here now, that we're actually the lion's share of their sales. What we want really matters, and we're not going to be as separate as you think now. So like they're thinking about us directly with the new STI. They're thinking about what our market wants and what will sell here. way
they're
more than
listening,
they
like
ever
you
did
said.
before.
Well, to be honest, there's a little bit of me that back in the day, I did love hearing about some, like, Japanese version of
Oh,
something,
sure, dude.
and I'm like, "Damn, I'll
Some
never have that."
unobtainium. Yeah.
Like
Well, I mean, like my bug eye, I just got a I've heard up 10 different things of what this is, but we always called it the RA wing riser. So basically what it is it takes a GDWX wing and it's got like a platform riser under it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd kill myself to get this thing. I owned one at one point way back in the day and sold it, and I'm killing myself ever since. I spent almost $1,000 on this getting to this to me.
Yeah.
Worth every penny, but it's some random crazy JDM unobtainium shit that we never got here. You know what I mean? And I'm
like
some of that's gonna go away, but
like,
that's
why
not necessarily a bad thing, dude.
why did Subaru never team up with a company like Tommy Kyra, right? What a cool brand.
I
And
agree.
the pieces that they made for these cars were so cool. And it was stuff that everybody wanted. And everybody's trying to ship them over. Where can I get this Tommy Kyra wing or this trunk
And there's
latch
2
or
left
whatever?
in the world
And
now,
yeah, and it's
right?
like that's a company that
Good
Subaru
luck.
could have worked with and been like, "Hey, people really like what you guys are building, and like it's adding some flair to what we're selling. Like, why don't we come up with like a Tommy Kyra edition WRX?" And it's like it doesn't have to be you don't have to make 10,000 of them, but maybe make 500 of them. Make a little hype,
Just
like
don't make a
you know,
Supreme edition.
yeah. But like
We
I
don't
I
need that.
feel like
So I got
the
a little
yeah.
bit of an answer for that, and I don't know this for sure. I'm kind of sitting on a soapbox. Do you guys remember ESX? I think they got burned a little bit on those. And
Mm,
I think Subaru of America went, we ain't doing that ever again. Not
really.
only that,
Hmm,
I also believe that the company has not been ran by enthusiasts at all up until very recently.
really.
It was the biggest reason we got the STI and everything else because the WRX sold like hotcakes entirely due to the Fast and the Furious. It just made sense. Like if it makes dollars, it makes sense. So they went down that route, and it made sense. But the VB, unfortunately, that enthusiasm tapered off a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so when's the last time you think it was run by
I don't think
enthusiasts?
it's ever been run by enthusiasts here in the States.
Well, we had the Spec B, we had the
We had
SVX.
these things because they sold due to the fact
That's
that
true.
it was just an overwhelming demand for that they couldn't they had to list, okay?
Mm,
And it was trendy at that point, and making the other companies were doing it too, so we kind of have to. It was the thing that was going on. Everybody had hopped up versions of all of their damn cars. I mean, we had SRT4s, like think about this. Like
that's true.
we had all sorts of crazy shit. Every company had some sort of wacky thing that none of that exists now.
Yeah,
And so
Yeah.
they're going, why do we have to do it if nobody else is doing it? But then there's still all of us here. You and I are having this conversation right now because we are still here and we're going, we want this. And there's still a ton of us who do want this. You forgot about us. And the new people up at Subaru are going, no, we didn't. We're you too. And I feel that.
Yeah,
yeah,
and we're sometimes the people with money at the point because
We
no
are now.
offense, yeah,
We were
it's
the
hard
ones
to
that were
say,
all hyped
"Hey,
up
we're
way
gonna
back in
market
the
to"
early
yeah,
2000s. We were like 19 and 20 years old. We're all in
that's
our
what I'm
early
saying.
40s now. We
Yeah,
got the
it's
money.
hard to say, "We're gonna market to 20-year-olds now," and the problem is you market to a 20-year-old now, it's like, "Well, I don't want a car, I'm gonna take an Uber
dude,
everywhere," you know?
20-year-olds
Eh,
want a V8 Mustang.
40-year-olds, we want
They
we want cars with sustenance. We
I
want
think we're
cars
getting
that make
another
us
I
feel
think we're getting
something.
another wave, okay? But I will say that, like, you go back
We're
maybe
seeing
3 or
it.
4 years, the car community was not in a good spot, okay?
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
say there's
Agreed.
a new group
We're
coming
still
through,
feeling it.
okay, that are starting to get interested in cars, and it is looking a lot better, okay? But it
Not the
didn't look
takeover
great then,
kids.
and those were the numbers they were looking at. Now,
yeah,
marketing to 20-year-olds only makes sense to a certain degree. One of the problems I'm having, and I'll be the first to admit, I've actually butted heads with a lot of people, even at IAG, about this, is when my parents hit their 40s and early 50s, they went looking for their high school car or whatever because they couldn't afford a Corvette or a Porsche or whatever. Okay. So they went looking for the car that they had and they wanted. And, for them, it was Cudas and it was old Mustangs and 69 Camaros and shit like that. And you saw the value of those things go through the roof. Well, guess what? I'm 44 right now. And you know what I'm building? A Bug-Eye. And I'm not the only one. There are a ton
And
of
you know
us.
what's going through the roof?
0405 STIs.
86s, Supras. They're all going through the roof.
They already went through the roof.
I would love an
Those
86
were all
right now.
Those are all guys 10 years older than me who shot those through the roof. It's the guys right now. It's what is that next step? And it's all Evos, STIs, the stuff that came out in that driver's era, mid 2000s to late 2000s. They're all starting to rocket up in price. And these guys are doing these builds. I talk to these guys all the time. They're not trying to make a 700 horsepower build. They want the nicest 450 OEM plus they can make. They're the funnest thing you can put together. These guys are so much fun to work with because they don't pull punches on anything. Everything they buy is right. They listen to everything you're saying. The cars turn out fantastic. They drive them all over the place. They do stuff with their cars. It's awesome. It is so much fun dealing with those guys, and they're all like my age.
Yep.
Yeah.
We built one of my employees, one of my technicians' dad's Bug-Eye. He bought a Bug-Eye.
Yeah.
It had way too many miles, 290,000 miles.
Sure.
He found the diamond in the rough, though. It was like owned by like 2 owners. Like,
Okay.
oh my God, where did you find this thing? Definitely at 200, almost 300,000 miles. Needed a lot of refresh. Like,
I bet.
full suspension, everything. Like, all the struts were blown out. You can imagine. But we refreshed the whole thing. He's driving this thing like through the moon. And again, we didn't go crazy. I think right about now, you said like in the I think he's pushing about like 360-ish.
Which is
But
plenty.
he's so happy. He's so happy.
You know
loves
what?
the thing. He's like, this is better than any car I would ever buy.
It's better than anything you can buy on the lot right now.
The thing about
Amen.
Subaru and like that era of cars is I never heard anybody complain really about, oh, the speaker system sucks, or oh, there's not enough, like the panels shake and make noise. Like
You know who complained about that?
Yeah.
Car and Driver, Motor Trend. What we got with the GR was these pinky up magazines that thought everything has to be a BMW complaining about shit, and that's what gave us the GR. But the reason we all bought like 04, 05 STIs is because they were raw as shit. You can hear everything in that car. Everything rattled. DCCD made all sorts of stupid noises. Like the car was visceral and loud and interesting to drive and rode like shit, and you were connected and it felt great. And then they took it all away because they thought that's what we wanted.
Yeah, it's annoying how much like Car and Driver has a hold on like people and like how the manufacturers listen to it, because it's just like some dude behind a computer being like, I drove one.
They have anywhere near that same effect anymore, but they
agree.
They did before, honestly, social media in general. And now everybody drives boring ass eggs with CVTs, and it's because of that shit. Cars have no
Side
soul
note to
anymore.
JD Power.
Yeah.
They suck. Who cares?
You know what?
JD Power? What are you? Who are you?
Who are you?
Everyone heard it here first.
Who are you?
Car and Driver is funded by the EPA. So
And JD Power is also, it's one of those, I looked into it because same thing as a small business. So I got an email. I get a million emails. Hey, we're doing a top Arvada's best in Colorado and highlighting all the local businesses in Colorado. If you pay us $2,500, we'll put you at the top of all of Arvada in our mailing list that goes out to 5,000 people or 10,000 people or whoever. We're like, no, what is this? And I look it up and I'm like, oh, it's a company who makes money off of other businesses paying them to publish here's the best of Arvada newsletter.
That doesn't work anymore. You're so much better. If you're a small business, hear me. I'm about to just drop some info on you. You got $2,500 you could put in this stupid newsletter and get like 3 old people from it, okay? Because that's the only people who are going to look at this shit. Everybody else is throwing it in the junk mail. Like, it's gone. If you really want to spend that $2,500, you take it and you put it into some proper social media and not Facebook ads. You make some well thought out reels that have some educational content or are freaking hilarious. And if you can't do it, you go find some Gen Z kid with his phone. He'll do it.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen.
I will
couldn't agree
say,
more.
Dewey, the one mail ad that I always loved, that always worked on me, was that my local Dodge dealer would send a postcard with a fake key, and it would say, "Come down and see if your key starts this Dodge
What a
Challenger."
genius.
And everybody would
That's
grab
smart.
it. Everybody would grab this key that was just some random cut, and you
Yeah.
would go down to the dealer and you'd stick it in the ignition, and it's like a house key, and it wouldn't do anything, and you'd just be like, "Oh," and
It's
and then
genius.
dude,
Yo, that's
and
pretty good.
that was like they did that local to me, and like I would always get these keys in the mail, and it'd be like, "If you come down and stick it in, it starts. It's yours," and you'd be like,
If
"Oh."
you don't, it like straight up, if you're a dealership and you're not thinking up stuff like that, then
Yeah,
that's genius. I love everything
Yeah.
about it.
Bravo to that dealership, dude.
That wraps up part 1 of our sit down with Dewey from IAG Performance. Massive shout out to Dewey for dropping by and sharing some incredible insights with us today. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss next week when we dive into part 2. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share the show with a friend. It really helps us keep the momentum going. For Dave and myself, thanks for riding the wave with us. We'll catch you guys on the next one.